Hello and welcome to the first ever podcast episode of Lex Talk. I'm extremely excited because the first guest who I'm bringing onto this is the one and only Mr. Moons. How are you, Mr. Moons?
Oh, I forgot. I've got something for you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I can see the word cake and you know I'm already happy.
I got you this. Look. See that?
And oh my gosh, it's red velvet. It's like you know me.
It's like I know. Look.
It's like you know me.
Red
oh
velvet.
my gosh.
I was going to make a potato cake because I actually hate the potato.
Okay.
But anyway,
I'm feeling a bit like I was not prepared for that part.
I'll put it away and
my
I'll come back
gosh.
and we'll make a start.
Now I just want a slice of cake. Gosh.
Thanks for inviting me down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm torn now between wanting to have a slice before we begin, but I think a lot of people will know what happens if we have some sugar.
Well,
Too much.
I'm okay. I can handle myself, but
Yeah.
you, I don't know.
Yeah, I need to be careful
How
with
are
that.
you?
I'm good. I am very excited. And it's amazing that you have agreed to join. I think a lot of people who already are in the space, let's say on TikTok, where this all kind of began, which is something that I think we should probably start talking about, is part of the reason why it's even got to this, really. So shall we kind of rewind back to... rewind? Rewind. It's the excitement, not the sugar. Rewind back to how this all began for even like you and I meeting.
Yeah, of course. I mean, first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity. I know for a fact that we have been speaking about this for a while. It was actually me that suggested it.
It was.
It was me.
Well, part of the idea was the potential like joint.
It was, yeah.
But then I kind of understand with your guidance why you might have thought it would be better to do it based on how it's gone online.
Yeah.
So obviously having you on a guest is fantastic anyway, because we've had discussions on how this could look anyway, and I think taking some of that into consideration is really important and helpful.
Absolutely. It'll be 2 years this year that we have met.
It will, won't it?
And I think we met, I think you was on a panel
Yeah.
of a particular, I can't remember who, but some time ago, you was on a panel and I went in and I had some very brash views of women, hated them and was unpacking a lot of misogyny, but didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And then you started to do, well, you were actually doing mental health lives, weren't you? But that's not where I found you.
No, that is how it started. I started doing mental health lives, and that got quite a good, let's say, traction for an audience and a community who wanted to keep on returning to that. And you're right, I found myself then still wanting to do relationship content. And one of my close friends was kind of helping me with some of the content. I mean, for me, misogynistic content was very quickly coming off my For You page, but similar to what you're saying, wasn't necessarily identifying it as being misogynistic, but still unsure as to what it was, because that content was not very complimentary of women in the slightest, but it was being pushed as an ideology. And so every time I went back and forth with her on this, she was helping me unpack some of the ingrained beliefs that I also held on to, that was being, let's say, part of the problem. An easy phrase to be able to say now rather than back then. But at the same time, it then led me to want to then try and create a platform where I could spread an awareness for that after starting that journey myself, and even just noticing how I was feeling better about myself and my views on women as well. I wouldn't say they were like, horrific things, but I would say that it was still upholding, elements of that grape culture, still using TikTok friendly language here because it's ingrained, isn't it, really? But I think it's really important. And that's how we then, you're right, you sort of saw me on a panel. I then sort of hosted some lives myself, and then you became quite regular. What was like the turning point for you though?
Well, like I said, I did sort of a bad podcast. I'll put it like that. It wasn't bad. That's the wrong thing to say. I did a podcast that was very, very misogynistic, and it was more tuned to ADHD. And I came on TikTok to try and find some more ideas. That was the aim of the goal.
Yeah.
And I came across a couple of people, and I thought, you know what, this guy's all right. I'll give him a chance. Some of the stuff he said actually resonates, and some of the stuff that he says I can actually believe in. Okay. I didn't want to, but I can. Right. And I wanted to be educated. And it was then that I started listening to you and listening to my friends outside, or one of my close friends actually. And she said, "Do you want to do this? You need to do this, and you need to go down this healing journey." And I thought to myself, I've got the perfect guy that I can follow, and I'm going to watch him all the time. Because, and then some of the stuff, because you started then to go from mental health to more of the stuff that you do now. And I think I followed your journey with you, and I agree with you most of the, in fact, all the time.
We had a lot of conversations. Like eventually, we took it to WhatsApp, didn't we? And we did. Had lots of voice notes exchanging, trying to understand things. Now, I remember when things started getting really busy was the hypothetical of the man and bear, something that I think builds a lot of tension for a lot of people, specifically men. And I think it was there was a live that I did once where I had about 700 to 800 people watching, and I had no moderators. So the chat was going wild, and I at the time, being a host, whatever messages was there, I just didn't care. It was just whatever, because I'm busy talking to someone. And then again, spending time online, going into other women's spaces, listening, learning. It's difficult to almost think at times that you're sometimes copy and pasting, because what you're doing in essence is saying, do you know what, I actually understand that based on what was said. So I want to now use that to also educate men in the same way, but to a different audience, an audience where they might find my live, So I think all the education that I've got is a huge thanks to women, because, and especially my closest friend at the time, who still is a close friend of mine, who was helping me unpack it and start that. But it was forever, dare I say it, we talk about how the emotional labor shouldn't be going on to women to educate men on misogyny. But yet through my journey, I had someone who was willing to go through that emotional labor, thankfully as a friend, obviously. But it was all the time. It was sending a message, sending a video. What about this bit? Because there was still thoughts where I was like, well, that's still, to me, that makes sense. So what's going on
easy,
there?
Yeah, but would you not? It's far easier to unpack with someone that's going along with the journey and willing to. The turning point for me with you was when you asked me to mod. Because then I have to start thinking like you.
Oh, so I put you on the spot.
Yeah, but it was necessary.
Yeah,
really was needed, and it completely changed my whole opinion. I was unpacking a bit, but with you, I was like being home from the airport and 15 suitcases. So,
what I want to do is I want to share an analogy that stuck with me, because to this day it's still it just rings. That was my turning point. Is there something from you in particular that was said that made you go, wow, that one really hit, or like the penny dropped?
So many. There was so many. I'd have to really think about that one, because there was so many.
I'll share mine, and then maybe you can, like, in the meantime, think of something. So for me, I did used to have the belief that what a woman wore could potentially be an indication of how men might behave around them. So very quickly did I understand that I had a victim blaming mentality, right? That's how I, thought of things. I thought, well, if you're potentially wearing revealing clothes, then you are looking for attention. That's why you're doing it. And the analogy that I got was, if someone was walking down the street and another person came up to them and used, a weapon on their neck to cause serious harm, you wouldn't say to them, why weren't you wearing a scarf? And as soon as that analogy was put my way, I was like, oh my gosh, that's done it. That's literally done it for me. It didn't just do it for me in the sense that it completely changed my perspective on that point, but it changed my perspective on saying there's so much more I don't know. There's so much more here, because, that's one point that has been made. And I'm thinking, I am far from understanding women's experiences, women's lives in terms of what they face, that this is a journey that I either decide to go on or operate in that male privilege and don't.
I'd have to agree with you, simply because, of course, I had major difficulties with ex-partners that would go out a lot.
Yeah.
And they would dress differently going out to when they were with me.
Okay.
And I thought that was a them thing and not a me thing. At the same time, what I really, really had to tell myself was, why couldn't they dress how they were going out with their girlfriends when they went out with me.
Mm.
And I'd be like, that's my fault. That's a me thing. I've made them do that.
Right.
And another thing for me was, I would say that I know what men are like. So when it was explained to me, analogy was explained to me, what it's all men till no men.
Mm.
I had to hold myself accountable.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of topics of debate that go on continuously on this online space. I don't like to, even I've just said the word, I don't like to use the word debate, but I can't help but think that a lot of men come up to debate.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, if you want to debate, it kind of sounds like it's because you want to maintain the point you believe in, even if you don't acknowledge that it may be misogynistic or something else, like maybe an insecurity. Now, a lot of people that do watch my content will know that those are the 2 points I own in all the time. And the reason I do it is because one of the biggest things that's spoken about is body count, is you know, how many sexual partners a woman may have had. Yeah, it does get a bit boring, doesn't it? And then I sit there and think to myself, how boring to keep saying it, but how does it feel then for women to keep hearing it?
Well, yeah, granted.
And experiencing, you know, the effects of it, right? And that's, again, not something at the beginning of the journey that I could empathize with. Because as far as I was concerned, I'm a guy, whatever. Doesn't affect me. And it doesn't affect men in that way. So even when people uphold that double standard and say, well, I agree with the same to both, it doesn't change the fact that society as a whole treats men and women very differently for something like that.
Why is it only men that care about body count?
I think there are women that do, and I, you know, we talk about this, don't we, where we think that there's, you know, internalized misogyny of that, you know, but I think it comes down to the root of it. I've had men come up and tell me a multitude of reasons why they think there's an issue with it. I believe that the misogynistic side of it is when, you know, they say things like women have no self-respect, women should keep their legs closed, you know, women are ran through. You can compare, you know, you wouldn't want to drive a car with high mileage. So you've got a lot of objectifying, dehumanizing, degrading descriptions of women and sex and the connection of the two. You then have the other side where you have men saying, well, she might cheat on me, or, well, I worry that she's going to compare me to previous partners and I might not live up to the expectations or standards that she's, you know, had from other men.
Do you think then that men are more concerned with the fact that they are no longer their first, that could be more concerning for them?
Well, there is an aspect of that. And there's also this kind of, I think there's this undertone of, if I am their first and only, then they don't have anything to compare it to. Therefore, I'm technically the best, but also I'm, you know, the only. I think what makes it really difficult is when you get a lot of men that describe women as being, you know, less valuable, or they use words like dirty and disgusting attached to something that's, you know, sex. It's if it's consensual and safe, where's the issue, you know? And a lot of men could have the, you know, dare I use the words emotional intelligence or emotional maturity to acknowledge, don't worry, I know you love that word, to acknowledge that if it's something that bothers them, own it and don't project it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
What would you say is the biggest change of mind you've had on the online space, though? Because I know you said that you came in originally with a lot of, you know, views on women.
Yeah.
Have you maybe thought about either a turning point that you can remember, or something that kind of led you to go, do you know what, I'm noticing a change within myself?
Yeah. Yes. I held myself accountable for many things. 4 relationships in the past could not be wrong about the same thing. And even though for me it's like, wow, well, for me it was at the time, women are this, women are that. Oh, it's her fault. It's her fault this has happened. Why is every woman I'm going with always doing the same thing, making the same mistakes? But really, it was me. And I think it's hard for a man to hold himself accountable for these things. And also, I started to see a lot of things that you were discussing online in my circle of friends. Because it's easy for us to sit there and hear a guy like yourself talking about the positivity that women actually want, but the negativity that men bring. And it's very, very easy for us as men to switch it off. Like you say, at the end of the day, we can turn our phone off.
Yeah.
But when you go outside to your friends and you actually start to hear some of my friends might be watching, but hey ho, when you start to hear what men start talking about in stuff that women have been facing for years, I'm not talking months, I'm talking decades, centuries of stuff. It actually starts, oh my word. And one of the big things I said to myself was, you should be sorry for all the difficulties that you've placed, all the podcasts that you've been on, horrible stuff started happening and so horrible things that you started to put into people's minds. And then what I started to do as well, I started to actually highlight the things that you were talking about on my other social media pages.
Yeah.
To actually share, because I was so passionate about things. I am passionate about things. And I always say that I'm not a nice guy. I'm just an educated one. I always say that. That could be on a t-shirt.
No, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we come back, I want to come back to the TikTok space as well.
Sorry,
because
yeah.
It's fine. I think what you said is really important to acknowledge, because that's part of your journey, right? And recognizing, again, something that a lot of men at all ages can notice is, how are your friends behaving? Like, how are your friends talking about women and behaving around women? Are you an enabler of that behavior? Are you someone that doesn't want to say anything? And I think that's a challenge for men at certain stages or ages of their life, because a lot of men hold so much trust to their friendship group that a lot of them wouldn't want to throw in their friendship because someone catcalled a woman. They would look at that and be like, yeah, it wasn't acceptable, but they're my best friend.
Yeah.
And it's like that's tough for, other people to witness, because you are part of the problem if you're going to enable that behavior.
But men don't do that because they fear men.
Right. And also, the aspect of loneliness that's been spoken about a lot lately.
No.
It has been spoken about a lot lately.
Yeah, men brought on the male loneliness epidemic themselves. And I'm sorry, you can judge me for that if you want.
I'm not judging at all.
Seriously?
No, I'm not judging. I think that, there are a lot of reasons, not reasons, there are a lot of explanations that men give as to what it is. A lot of men don't think it's necessarily linked to women, and a lot of men do. That's maybe something for a different conversation, because that will go down a very... But I agree with you. I think that there's a lot that men can do about it.
Tune into Moonee's podcast.
That's it. Yeah.
On TikTok.
Host your own lives. But coming back to the TikTok, right? How do you experience and navigate around TikTok, knowing that a lot of people host lives and do them differently? There are men doing them. There are women doing them. The different men that come up to talk about the conversations and their attitudes. Like, what themes have you noticed around these types of conversations with regards to men unpacking their misogyny, men being educated, and their behaviors towards that?
Well, in our little team, because there is a little team of people, a team of moderators, I'm glad and pleased that they have actually set up on their own. Excuse me, sorry. I've got a misogynist in my throat. So what are the things that I see every day in, day out on I don't know what it is about TikTok, but they tend to put, it's analytics, isn't it? So if you tend to go into someone's space, like there are so many different spaces, it's positive and blessed for women. Yeah, that's the cake.
Just noticed, have you been eating my cake?
No, that was just the dye on my fingers from the dye on the cream.
Right. Okay.
I did not. I promised you I didn't.
Okay.
I'm allowed to say that on the podcast. Anyway, I'm getting nervous, so don't distract me.
Just wait for the next part.
No, I'm not even looking forward to that. Yeah, so every stuff that I go in now, I tend to find there aren't many. There are not many at all. There are not many positive men out there that are doing positive stuff for women. There's not. There's only a handful. I mean, there's you, and there's JW. I know I'm not calling out the names, but you two on, obviously you this side of the pond, him on the other. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you two, there was a moment when you two were together in your live, obviously you being the prominent one. You
got very excited, didn't you?
I got really excited because of all the things. It's like finally someone else is understanding what it is that I think.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's combining those, pockets of, spaces where you think, actually, I have a sense of belonging now in a space that maybe one day I didn't think I would ever have, but it also represents the growth of it. We will come back to it, but just because of, how you were feeling there about the little nervousness that you had there, I actually want to stick with that. So we're going to go into the next part of this podcast, which is Lex Play. Are you ready for that?
Well, I feel
good. I'm glad because that obviously shows that you are so excited. So we're going to go into that right now. Welcome back to Lex Play, and I know for a fact I'm more excited about this than you are. Lex Play is all about masculinity, and we're going to play a game. And the game is going to be that we've got 3 cards here, 1, 2, and 3. Whichever one you pick, we are going to do together, not necessarily hand in hand.
Can you see the nerves? Can you see the nerves?
I can see that your facial expression has definitely changed, which is good because this is about challenging our masculinities, right? So I'm going to ask you to just pick a number. Then I'm going to give you the 2 cards of what you could have got, just so that you can see maybe what you missed out on. So 3 cards, 1, 2, or 3.
3's my lucky number, so we'll go 3.
Okay. I'm going to give you number 1, and I want you to show and say out loud what it is you've dodged.
Mascara and blush.
Mascara and blush. Okay, fair enough.
Where are we going with this?
Well, you've got to read number 2 now. Number 2.
Glad.
Okay.
Glad.
You don't know what's left.
Oh, glad. Handbag and fake lashes.
See, I'm all right with them.
Apparently so. Apparently so.
So, okay. So, are you ready for number 3? Okay.
I'm not ready for it, but...
What's going to happen? So, how do you feel about it? That's the face I want to see. Look at that. Say it out loud. Say it out loud, because the people listening aren't seeing.
Headband and nails.
Headband and nails. Okay, so hold on. So, what we're going to do for the remainder of this... What do you think?
You wear that on the live.
Yeah, and now on the podcast. There you go. That's it. I want you to get right into that microphone and tell me exactly how you feel about that.
You want to know how I feel about it?
Yeah, tell me. I'll wait. So we've got...
You're not doing the nub. Are we doing the varnish?
We've got, of course, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this one's from Covent Garden. Amazing. Time to shine. Do you want to go first or second?
For what am I doing?
So you're going to do my nails.
Is this not enough?
And I'm going to do yours.
Why did I agree to this? Millions of people watch me do my nails.
First or second? Look at the legs. Look at the legs fidgeting. This is brilliant. This is amazing.
Do you know what?
Before, we will do it in a second. Just out of curiosity, what is it that is coming up for you? Like, what is it that bothers you about the idea of having your nails painted?
Do you know what? As I think about it, I see lots of dads do it.
Would it help if I painted your nails while you told me?
You're not gonna let me not. You're not gonna let me not
Perfect.
do it, are you? What am I doing?
So talk to me about things.
I see dads doing this all the time.
Yeah.
With their kids, and obviously in order to get involved. I've never thought about doing this at all. You're only doing one hand though, aren't you?
Nope.
Oh.
Do you know how ridiculous it's going to look if I only do one hand?
Do you know what? You didn't even ask me what colour I wanted.
No, I'm choosing for you.
Right.
And then you brought in props. And
I didn't know you were going to put them on me. I really didn't know you were going to do this.
That's actually true. You didn't know what I was going to do. Fair enough. It's lovely. I should get a job doing this. I shouldn't.
Have you done this before?
Nope.
So
Oh my
what?
gosh, you're my first customer.
So why would you? What? Talk to me about it, because I'm stumbling for words.
Well, I think that's what's important.
I'm not familiar with it. I'm not comfortable.
Why are you not comfortable? Talk to me about that.
I don't think it was because I've never worn nail varnish before.
Okay.
And the fact that you are literally putting all your effort into this is I really don't know how I feel about this. I really don't.
Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll come off the perspective. Not perspective. We'll come off the fact that this is happening to you right now, right?
Yeah.
Give me your other hand. And I want you to talk to me about what masculinity means to you. What does masculinity mean to you?
What masculinity meant to me before or now?
Both. Let's go with both.
Right, masculinity used to mean to me being the man about the house, being the sole breadwinner, you know, being the one that everyone leans upon, the strongest one, the man of the family, upholding my father's beliefs, which were incredibly misogynistic, based on what, of course, he taught me. You know, being one of the lads.
I'm not laughing at your views of masculinity, by the way.
You're laughing at my nails.
I'm actually laughing at how terrible I am at doing this. It's quite a skill.
I'm not gonna. I'm
being, you know.
I'm not gonna judge or. I'm lost for words, Alex.
I can hear the cuticles being touched by the brush. It's phenomenal. This is like perfect ASMR.
I can't believe this is happening to me. To be fair, I really can't.
Is this something that Dad would have approved of?
Absolutely not. He would have thrown me out of the house.
Really?
Yeah.
So
this is not masculine, as far as I'm concerned.
You think that
for me? Well, I don't know what to think now. I really don't know what to think. I really don't know what to think.
Thumb and then done.
You have literally. I want to know what is it that you're proving with this?
So the point I'm proving with this is
Alex, why am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this?
Show the camera how beautiful.
Why am I doing this?
Show the camera how beautiful. Oh, you're blowing them.
Why am I blowing my nose?
You want them to set.
No, it's because I want it to dry, so I can use my...
Look at that. That's beautiful. Does that change who you are as a person?
No.
Okay. Because it's just what? It's just colour on your nails, right? So it's just interesting, I think, how we attach masculinity to certain things. Why do we feel that our masculinity is being challenged by a product that goes on your nails? Not saying, by the way, go wear it every day, but also saying, what if you did? Why does that make you any less of a man?
Just on this,
I'm waiting for mine, by the way.
You have to wait for mine to dry.
Sure. Oh, you know a lot about. Okay.
My son, and I was incredibly proud for him for this. You know, the Boy in the Dress by David Walliams.
Yeah.
Book day, World Book Day.
Mm-hmm.
My son went to school in a dress.
Okay.
And he said, "Why not?" That's all he said was, "Why not?" In fact, he says what you do, and now I've got to do yours. Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Right, I'm going to make a real bad. This just because I can. I really don't know how I feel about. I really know what.
Is it worse to paint the nails or is it worse to have them done?
I'm worried about spitting on the carpet.
Yeah, please don't do that. The thing that I wanted to talk about on it is coming from the perspective that, oh, this is lovely. Wow, what an interesting colour. Oh, it's glitter. Wow, you're so much more thorough than I am. Goodness me, maybe I was worried about how much to put. Oh, I'm actually I might even wear this. The thing that I was trying to put out as a perspective here, right, is similar to what you said about the dress, okay, is if your son went into a shop when he was like...
I'm concentrating on this, really.
That's fine. I appreciate how much effort you're putting into this, honestly. So, for example, my son, he's coming up to the age of 5, right? If he went into a charity shop, which he did once, he went into a charity shop, right? Because we do that when he gets his haircut. It's like a little reward for doing it. And I say to him, pick a toy, any toy. You can have any toy here that you want. And one day he went and he chose a doll. Now I know that a lot of dads, based on, you know, the TikTok lives that we've done and the things that we've spoken about, a lot of dads would say, absolutely not. That's a girl's toy. And so we kind of fall into this, you know, aspect of gender stereotypes, which is certain things that boys should do, certain things that girls should do. And a lot of this is what is part of the root, I believe, on, you know, toxic masculinity, which then can also turn into misogyny towards women and girls. Why is it that we can't be okay with our son playing with a doll? Why is it we can't be okay with our son wearing a pink t-shirt without the so-called stereotypes or assuming that it means something else or means something other than just a choice? He's 4 years old. He doesn't know anything, right? But he will know things if you push an idea onto him or you reaffirm certain things for him and embed those beliefs in early. Appreciate it, Moons. They look fabulous. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's brilliant. And I think that, you know, you and me now talking about wherever we're talking about, and
it's no different.
It isn't.
It doesn't feel any different whatsoever.
It's no different. That's it. But what becomes different is the way that other people start talking to you. And like, for example, the lives that we do, right? So why is it that they now start to talk a certain way because of these things? It's because it doesn't align with their version or views of masculinity. And for me, that's kind of part of the reason why I think that sometimes the terminologies of masculine and feminine are often used in a harmful way because it maintains the stereotypes that actually, you know, puts men and women down in different ways. If I was to say to you in the house, give me an example of something that you think is a quote unquote man's job, what would you think of?
Taking the bins out.
Yeah, I think everyone would probably say that as well, right? What would you say is a woman's quote unquote job?
Putting the washing in.
Okay. What does it mean if you met a man who does all the laundry? What does it mean if you met a woman who always does the bins? Like, genuinely, what does it mean?
Absolutely nothing. For me, it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So why is it then that we apply this in all other areas, right? So, for example, you know, if we're focusing here on the way that women experience this, when you have men that are in, you know, positions of CEOs, they're at the top, right? They're assertive, they're confident, they've got their together. Whereas it's not said in the same way towards women. Women are perceived as bossy, emotional, argumentative, disagreeable. And it's like the characteristics that we are talking about here, we attach to feminine and masculine and then use them as a way to be, a way to put down one gender over the other. If I met a woman who was, what was the word that I said? Assertive. Why is that a bad thing? Why is it bad for a woman to be assertive if it's used in the right way?
Because if men would believe that if women are controlling, then the man is under the thumb.
But it gets okay. But you use the word controlling.
Or assertive. Like, assertive is control.
Is it?
Don't get me wrong. I'm literally trying to give another perspective.
I don't think it's control. I think assertive is being more direct on something, you know. So, for example, if you're in a company position where decisions need to be made and you assert your position on that, I think that shows confidence. You know, I think that shows a level of I believe in myself and my decision. You know, I believe how I got to this point to make that decision. I would also take the responsibility with it if it went wrong. You know, there's a level of assertion to that. I don't think that's a negative, but men push the ideology that they should be the ones to be that way. And so therefore, if they're going to be that way, they want to be with someone that's the opposite, someone who's agreeable, someone who's kind, someone who's polite. And then you have these words that attach to women as if it should be with them. But what would be a problem if you found a man who was polite, found a man that was kind?
The other aspect of that is that women believe that men like that. Well, men believe, not women. Apologise, I'll take that back. Men believe that men like that are what?
What are we going to say? Simps? Simps?
Simps.
Simps.
Whereas it actually means fool. The word simps means fool.
Yeah.
But it's been used so much in a modern day era online that a lot of people believe, a lot of online men, effectively, will say, "Oh, he's a simp. He caters for a woman. He will pander to a woman. He will do all of these things." They don't really understand emotional intelligence.
You and those words. But this is it, right? And it's like the only reason to adhere to that is to then assert a level of control. In my opinion, it's a way to assert that control by sort of saying this is how men and women should be, but they recognize that by women being that way, you're then reducing maybe their capabilities of what they can achieve in life. You know, I think if you look at any characteristic that you attach to, you know, stereotypically being masculine or feminine, and you did apply it to the opposite gender, I don't see how it would be a negative. You know, because if you're praising a characteristic, praise it when everyone has it. You know. If you was going to hear the word bravery, that could go to men and women.
Courageous.
But there'll be a lot of men, however, that will think of, you know, men in the military being brave, men in the, you know, fire brigade being brave.
Cutting down trees where bears live.
Yeah. Man or bear, yeah. So like, you know, so the
irony.
Yeah. So like they would attach a lot of bravery to that, and they'll, you know, that's a great thing. Whereas, you know, you look at women, for example, who achieve so many different things. Pregnancy, the bravery, goodness me, you know, like.
How many men do you know that could have children?
Well, the point that I'm making on that, the point that I'm making is that when you have those characteristics like caring, you know, and it's associated to like being motherly, you know, and you know, stay-at-home mums, all of this, mothers raise children, they're nurturing. What would be the problem in having a man around that is caring and that is nurturing? Why can't they adopt those characteristics as well, and that not be seen as a bad thing? That's the bit that I'm confused with a lot of the time.
Well, we argue this every day, don't we? Well, you don't argue, you educate. And
I try to.
No, you do. No, come on, you do, because I always say this. Look, you turned my opinion completely, and I was this very, very, very horrible misogynistic man. But, and I'll always say this. I don't know whether we're going to talk about it now or later or whatever. But where I am now, with my current partner, my partner, not current partner. My partner is, I have never, ever felt so alive in a relationship in my entire life.
That's a big thing.
It is. And I wouldn't be sat there with her with flowers and nails on, but if she said, would you do that? I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Well, I was actually going to say, like, maybe even 5 minutes ago while we were talking, you were talking, from my opinion, in the perspective that you'd completely forgotten this had even happened. That might be wrong. But like the nerves that you had and the way you were thinking about it so much. Well,
actually, I look at you and think, I wonder what I look like.
That's it. Just this. That's it. That's all it is. Different. I'm jealous of the pink, I must admit, but at the same time, this is.
I would have clashed with your shirt though.
Fair enough. So we're bouncing off each other. That's what it is.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I just made it up.
All right.
I thought it sounded good in the moment.
Well, no, it sounds all right.
But again, like I think also that this gets instilled in teenagers. And this is part of the problem, in my opinion, is that it starts so early through the beliefs that parents, not all, that parents put onto their children about what you should and shouldn't do. You know, like you shouldn't wear this, you shouldn't play that, you shouldn't do that. Why? Oh, because that's something boys do. That's something girls do. And it's like, why does it have to be that way? I don't understand why an individual can't just make the decision on what they want to do because they either enjoy it, they want to do it, they want to learn it.
But on that, though, there are so many teenagers or young children that are making their own decisions at the moment today, and they're still getting questioned for it. There is always going to be someone that will question you for your choices, your life decisions, because it doesn't fit with the norm or it doesn't fit with the patriarchal society.
And that's what the default norm is the patriarchy, right? And, you know, what we've been conditioned, in my opinion, to believe. And again, like, you know, we talk about our journeys. I'd say, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, if you'd have said the word patriarchy to me, I'd have gone, sorry, what?
Yeah.
Patri who? Like
2 years ago for me.
Misogyny what? Like all of these words and understanding. So it is something that you have to actively decide to go on as a journey. But there's so much. So when I said to you, when I say to you about how certain things are, emotional intelligence, for example, and how that's like an umbrella term for things, you look at the patriarchy, look at the umbrella, look what falls under it.
Do you think that patriarchy is made so that people are kept that way?
Yeah, I think so. Like an order.
So exactly. So we are the type that will break away from those normal quotes or that normal type of life.
Yeah, when coming aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you look at the disadvantages, for example, that women face.
Yeah.
But only if you were willing to go and do the research and listening and understanding for you to then be aware of it. And so when you look at all the statistics and you look at all of the different ways that women face the oppression they do, and the misogyny from that, it's quite scary how much there is when you were once in a position where you knew nothing. And then you start knowing quite a lot in such a short space of time. And you suddenly go, male privilege, how lucky.
Do you know? Yeah. This whole... Look at me, look. I'm showing my nails off now. This whole journey that we have been on, or I have been on, actually, this whole journey that I have been on has taught me so much that I actually adapt to life better. My friends are better around me. The guys that are... I know earlier on we were talking about stuff that I've shared on my social media pages. I know we're talking about TikTok. But I shared stuff on my social media pages recently about a particular alarm that's going to go off pretty soon. And there were two guys that I know well. I used to work with them. And they put up laughing emojis. And that tells me more about them now. Whereas before, I would go along with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because you're unaware of the effects that it can have.
Yeah.
and again, it's education, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the final part of this episode, which is for some reflections. So, final thoughts that I want to talk about towards the end of this episode is friendships with men. I think it's really something that I've noticed in the time that I've spent online about, men talking about things like the male loneliness epidemic, how men actually start creating friendships, how they maintain them, and then what type of transferable skills that enables into things like relationships. So what was it like for you as a teenager to make friends? What type of things would you say was important to you to have with those around you?
Well, I was part of the rave scene. It was a massive rave scene in the 90s. So it was all about, we was heavily out of our heads on narcotics at the time. And we had probably a group of us that would go out together. It was mixed, though, because, of course, the majority of the time we weren't really on the cloud. But as I'd probably say in my early 20s, I could really start seeing the types of... If I look back at it now, I could really start seeing the types of men that would find difficult... I couldn't go back there again, if that makes sense, because they were awful. And the way they would treat women would be, or where they did treat women, was incredibly difficult for me to look back and think, well, that was a great friendship. That would have been that was really nice.
So was it founded upon similar interests mainly?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I didn't have anyone else that I could go with. I didn't know anybody else I could hang around with. I didn't have anybody else that I could think, well, actually, this guy doesn't do this. And it wasn't until probably in my early 40s that I started to really understand about how misogyny was affecting life and how, emotional intelligence should have been affecting life.
We need a tally for how many times you use that.
Literally. It's like the G count. But what I think it's very, very important for us to understand as men why it is that we understand. I met you 2 years ago, little 2 years ago. And ever since then, I'm not saying you've changed my life, but effectively you had a big part to play in that. And it's almost, for me, it's like I've just started again. So the common interest I had then, can you imagine what kind of guy I'd be if I was like this now, back then? You can imagine where I'd be.
Yeah, it's like you don't feel like you'd have a belonging. I think for me, popularity was a big thing. So I'm still best mates with the person who I was best friends with at school. And I remember he was very popular. And I think a lot of people that had siblings in, years above, it was always like, there was a level of popularity there as well. He's a big, strong guy. And his older brother was always known as someone who's like, don't mess with him. So there was a part of me that was also drawn to this, like, cool. Like, he's a cool dude. He's a cool guy. Sometimes he'd misbehave a little bit. But at the same time, he was also very popular with the girls, So
you was with him, and therefore you'd be like,
yeah, there probably was a part of that, But in the end, and also he was on the football team, so we had a friendship through that as well. We then both started gaming, and that was it. Like from year 8 onwards, it was all about gaming, if I'm honest. So for me, that's what the friendship was pretty much built upon, but then maintained with, because it was, again, similar interests, enjoyment. Similar sense of humor, I think, was a big thing. The things that we laughed about, things that we, joked about was very much hand in hand.
Did you ever find that when you was teenage young man growing up, did you ever find that you had to be in certain groups, you had to act a certain way or put on a mask just to be accepted?
No, but I think I could identify which groups you did. And I think part of that then was maybe recognizing some of these groups of people might be more of having like a bullying mentality in almost like, like you say this and then you can be a part of us, do this and maybe, we like there's a level of respect there for it. Sometimes there was, fights, wasn't there? And it was almost like a way of, once the fight was done, majority of the time, there was respect between the two, because it was like, I respect that we fought it out, So that was always something that was quite, I wouldn't say common, but when it happened, Well,
it's where the men fear men grows from, isn't it? Teenagers.
Yeah, potentially, but also the way that, dare I say it, but how, men challenge one another's masculinity. Like, is that measured in our physical strength, and the way that we value someone else in terms of those stereotypes of a man being a protector, as in like, oh, he's big, he's strong, he's someone who can look after himself and other people. So therefore he's quote unquote valuable for certain things that also a lot of dads and granddads would say is important to have as to be a man, right? So man up, don't show emotion, don't cry, those kind of things. But I think if we were to fast forward now, kind of, I suppose, what do you think your thoughts would be on what you value in friendships now with men? And women, actually, but like more so, with men.
I've learned a hell of a lot more from the women friends in my life.
What have you learned? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, okay. I've learned to be sensitive with myself. I've learned to understand myself. I've learned what to do and stuff that I could do with my children if I didn't have any money, places to go, people to see. I've learned more about myself and the way that I approach life. For example, a very good friend of mine that lives in Brighton. She's always telling me we do this because of this, and we socially we're accepted because of this, and we mask because of this, and we say these things because of this and this and this. Do you think I could get that from I could get it from you? Do you think I could get it from a mate down the pub? If I came home, for example.
I love how you associate it to down the pub.
Down the pub.
Another like stereotype, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But what I've learned from having a woman as a friend is I've learned how to speak to my partner better and associate with, I'm feeling like the other day, I've got some issues at the moment. Not some issues. My mum's just come home. She's very, very poorly. And she's come home from a care home. And I have learned to express how I feel about it and how it affects me. And maybe we'll talk about parent stuff later. But how it affects me and how it makes me feel, and how I feel very insecure about certain things that goes on. Do you think I could talk to another man other than you about those things?
Well, again, that would be based on your friendship circle. But I think a more important question would be, do you think teenagers have the, understanding, knowledge, experience, opportunity, upbringing to be able to learn to do that early on?
No.
Because obviously, in your mid to late 40s, when you now say I've started to learn how to do that, How different would your life have been if you were able to do that earlier, if you did have maybe the guidance and the support, whatever it might be. So that's why it also taps into parenting styles, in thinking, you know, how are we allowing emotions, and how are we allowing feelings and thoughts to be shared in the household, from at what age, where we also deem it to be acceptable to hear, to encourage as being a positive, rather than the whole, whoa, like, you know, you're doing a lot of crying, you seem like you're in a bit of a hysterical or tantrum kind of moment. Stop that.
Go and see your mum.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. And then the idea of that versus, well, the idea of that is also then sort of saying, like, that's not for me to deal with because I'm a man. Because why am I saying go see your mum? Why can't I deal with that? Why can't I be the one to help you and support you through that?
Is it because but we didn't learn? What do we know? We didn't know as men.
Well, so this is what I think is really interesting. Is I had a lot of friends that were girls at secondary school. It was always just like, you know, catching up with them and finding out what's going on. And they spoke about this stuff. They spoke about things that were bothering them. They spoke about how they felt when, you know, some of their friends betrayed them. They were open about it. Yeah, sometimes it was dealt with between them in a very loud and sometimes, you know, a way that was a bit erratic. But we're teenagers. We have to give some grace in understanding that, you know, there are grown adults who don't know how to manage their emotions. Teenagers, GCSEs, it's you know, everyone's going through different things, right? So being able to, again, as I say, not be the one who was of the center of the gossip and be under the, you know, firearm of, you know, Alex has done this, Alex has done that, and just more like, oh, like, I'm watching what other people have done, I'm watching how it's affected them, I'm seeing the emotion, I'm hearing the emotion. It's like I'm starting to learn that their way of expressing, when I this is again stereotypes, right? The way that I saw girls express what was on their mind and bothering them was totally different to boys, because when something bothered a boy from another boy, it was, well, you starting? Well, it was always, are you starting?
Yeah.
Like, you want to go?
Yeah.
All right, after school.
Exactly.
That was it. Done.
Yeah.
And it was like, really? Don't want to talk about it? Then no, let's just go, you know, fisticuffs.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really interesting. And for me, that's why I have such a high importance on communication. It's because I think it's really important. That's the one thing that I always want to better myself at, because so many times when other people are talking, I do find myself thinking, oh, I want to interject, I want to step in, I want to talk.
But you have this now. You still have that fighty fight thing where men
Fight.
You have the fighty fight thing where men come up into your life and they'll crash out immediately. After a while, they'll crash out and they start saying things and they start to, you know, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Of course, it's not misogyny. It's not misogyny. What I need to understand and what I really want to learn is how we can distract our boys from red pill rhetoric, from the Andrew Potatoes of the world.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing to tackle that is really difficult. And I think that, you know, the only way we can do that is by protecting our children as much as we can, by, again, guiding them as to why certain things you watch on TV is okay and certain things isn't. It's very tough because it's becoming, you know, even more and more popular online. It seems like a lot of places on the online space push out that in the algorithm a lot as well. And I think that's something that, you know, as young as they are, they don't understand fully what they're watching. You know, if I'm 30 years old and there's still thoughts that I had that was misogynistic, and then I get challenged on them, I go, whoa, I didn't even know that. What's going to happen to teenagers where their teenage friends reaffirm the things that they're saying because they're watching the same thing?
Yeah, it's horrid. I fear for my children. However, obviously, of course, when they are, you know, they sit and listen to you a lot. Not by choice.
Fair enough. But the men you spoke about that come on and they're like, you know, I'm not misogynistic and all this stuff, and it's like they crash out, but I think actually a lot of the time they crash out because they don't get the same energy back. They want a reaction. They want to see you responding in the same way, because that's what a lot of men come up for that. They don't come up to actually, not a lot of men actually come up to learn, but also because there's this like slight ego in the sense that, what, another man's going to educate me? Really? You know, I know better. Now, that's not to say I'm immune to it. I hold the same stance at times where I'm like, I'm waiting still for someone to come up and really, really tell me some different perspective that I've never heard of before. And the majority of the time, it's not like that. It's someone who has never come into this space before, maybe, who has a view and wants to share it. And I think that the reason why I try to maintain the same stance as much as possible is because if that is a new person willing to learn and they're repeating the same thing that these hundreds of men intentionally have said to be misogynistic, am I going to be the one to judge them thinking it in the intentional way and then just responding in the same way to them all like that? You know,
is that why you have the patience in order to do it time and time again, and just maybe you'll crack them one day, maybe you'll crack them tomorrow?
I think that comes with the therapy in terms of, you know, being a therapist and understanding how to decenter yourself, how to create a space for the other person to say what they want to say, vent what they want, whatever it might be, right? It's saying, I'm going to provide a safe space for you. So I don't view them as clients, but when I'm talking with them, I sit there and think, I'm not going to say anything until I've heard what you have to say. And then with that comes a lot of either attitude, curiosity, wanting and desire to learn. And you get a sense for that. And I think a lot of people who are on the online space, they'll know after maybe 2 or 3 sentences what someone's intentions are when they come up on a live. It doesn't take long, you know? So
It doesn't take long for me to block them.
That too. It doesn't. But at the same time, you know, we have to recognize how that affects the other people in the live.
Well, yeah, but not only that, I'm starting to learn myself what you see. I'm starting to clock it quicker and quicker. Sometimes I'll drop someone knowing full well that I will get in trouble for you later. But what I'm trying to do is to protect the live.
Yeah, and the people
protect
in the
space.
space.
Exactly.
And you know, we have to do that at times because otherwise you can't just let people say whatever they want to say, because that's where the harm extends, you know. And that's why I'm saying the intention of, you know, when people come up, what's the intention behind the way that you're positioning your points? That's important, you know. So whilst, you know, we have these phrases as well of impact over intent, and I completely acknowledge that. If someone says their point of view and doesn't realize or know the impact of what they're saying, then we have to, you know, try and be a judge of character in some areas as to thinking, right, is this person here doing it to intentionally harm? And if not, and they're unaware, ignorant, is that what the space is for? To educate? Yeah, it's there to educate and give them that understanding. And I think that for me, when we go onto this online space, what I'm finding is that, like you said, lots of people are blocking people. And when you go into the spaces where that red pill rhetoric is pushed harder and harder, it's almost like we need someone to kind of go undercover and try and sit in those lives, be an observer, gather some information.
To infiltrate, you know, to get in, sit and just be noticed, be accepted because, of course, of who he is or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that would be great. But what I will say is this has been amazing. Would you be of the possibility of coming back to? Because I think there's so much more we haven't discussed.
Oh, an hour's not enough.
No,
Come on,
it's really not.
We
We haven't got started, but we have started.
Yeah. No, I would. I'd love to. I'd love to. Just let me know when. And of course, I'll be here.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone, for watching the very first episode of LexTalk podcast. But I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the listeners and all of the community that does support this podcast, because it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you as well. Those of you that are listening, obviously there's a lot that you might have missed out on, but hopefully you managed to get the gist of what we were here talking about. We will continue again and get more guests on. And if it's something that you feel interested in, please reach out and drop me a message. Take care and speak to you soon.